As Janet said, my name is Loreen Rutherford and I'm a mobile manager for Westpac New Zealand, and I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. Tonight I want to go over a little bit about an insight of what a bank does and what we look at when we're assessing an investment property loan. The content of my presentation is a guide only. It doesn't take into account your personal situation, so therefore I would recommend that you do get your personal information and advice. So this evening, what we're going to cover is getting started buying an investment property, income, owner-occupied investment defined, LVR, which is a big topic out there, what the requirements and the expectations are, and the exemptions, and valuation requirements and construction loans. Okay. So getting started, all Kiwis, young and old, love to own a property. We like the idea of investing in brick and mortar. More and more parents are also buying properties as nest egg to build for their family, to get their children and future children, grandchildren into property right now. And we're seeing a lot of that. And also thinking about retirement. A lot of retiring people, or retirees I should say, and people that are going to retire in the future, like all of us, are buying property right now. And we see that they now and in the future will be using the rental income from their properties to help their retirement lifestyles. Income. Servicing your loan is an important part to the bank and your ability to service the loan. The ability to service your loan is important to the bank because, as lenders, we're required under the new Code of Responsible Lending to ensure that we are responsible lenders, that we exercise care, due diligence and skill when discussing your personal situation in selling you consumer credit products. If you're a wage or salary earner, we, the bank, will take 100% of that into account for servicing. If you're a self-employed or business person with business income, also 100%. Commission, we take 75%. So if you're a real estate agent or a person just based on sales commission payments as an income, it's scaled down to 75%. Rentals, of course, that's from your investment properties, also 75%. The reason banks will take 75% is that the 25% will cover rates, maintenance, and times that you may not have tenants, which we all know is not a problem in Auckland. And also, if you have tenants that are flatmates or boarders, we only take 50% of their income. The reason we do that is because they are not in a set contract, like a tenancy agreement, and therefore they can leave at any time. So the definition between owner-occupier and residential investment properties. The primary home that you live in, we class as owner-occupier. And the secondary home, it might be that a lot of people now are commuting to have a small property in the city, a small apartment, and then they commute outside of the city on the weekends to a beach property or a second property. So if you're in that situation, you can have two properties classed as owner-occupied. As well as beach properties or holiday homes, if they are rented out for less than 42 days of the year, then we also class that as an owner-occupied property. Residential investment property is determined straight as a rental property, so one that you generate weekly rental from. A holiday home that is actually rented out for more than 42 days of the year. So the owner-occupier beach property can be rented out for, say, 42 days of the year over the peak periods and things like that, and still we can lend up to 80% on that property. And also properties that are purchased for family members, so parents, elderly parents or children that you want to put into those properties, then we also class that as actual residential investment property. So going on from the definition of those two properties, there are set rules, as we all know, around the LVR requirements and the exemptions from the LVR requirements. So LVR, as we all know, it's the loan to value ratio, or the lending to the actual valuation or value of your property ratio. And that means simply the amount that the banks can lend against that particular property. So in the Auckland City, and that is the Greater Auckland City, maybe from Wellsford down to Pukekohe, if they're an Auckland City ratepayer, we class that the LVR for an investment property, as we all know, is only 70%. If you're buying an investment property outside Auckland City, so for Gisborne, Napier, Hamilton, where my clients are buying are mainly Tauranga, Hamilton, and they're all, as we know, shooting up in price. So we can lend up to 80%. Some exemptions, though, to these rules are when we're refinancing. So if you're going from one lending institution to another, and you have investment properties over 70% within Auckland, and you're moving your actual lending from Westpac to ASB as an example, then if you're not making any change, increasing your actual amount of borrowing, then we can actually transfer that over at the existing LVRs like they are. And also the other exemption is the combined collateral that you've got in your properties. So what that simply means, if you have a property that you live in and you've got very little mortgage on that particular property and you want to buy some investment properties and you've got a lot of equity sitting in your family home, we can also lend up to 100% using that equity. But it's when we start using investment properties as security that the LVR requirements come into place. That all makes sense. So just a matter of interest, how many people here in the room tonight who actually actively have bought an investment property in the last month or actually out there physically looking at the moment? Yeah, myself, I've done one of those too. So it's actually, as a banker, it's very, very busy at the moment. People's lending is becoming more complicated as the LVR restrictions come into place and filter through. But it's exciting times because the values of properties in Auckland have gone up so much that we do have the ability to extract more equity out of your properties to help you buy further investment properties. So other factors that the bank actually takes into account when they are considering factors for exemptions, any extension or alteration done to the property without any code of council consent, or what we call CCC, which we all know what a CCC is. Any alterations that have done, or terms of sale on the actual sales and purchase agreement which aren't standard, maybe also alter the amount that we lend against the property. Properties with existing watertight issues, we as a bank might ask for additional information on that particular property, and that might be that we need a building inspection and actually a thermal inspection to actually understand to what extent that damages to that property. And the main concern for us is that you have the ability to repair that property and continue your lifestyle like it is. So plastered properties, once again, depending on when they're built, there may be a requirement for a builder report there, moisture check. And once again, that will depend on your personal situation. As I said, these are real guidelines. That's why I love my job, because everybody's situation is so awesome and so different. And it's actually working something that actually works for your personal situation, and depending on where you are in life. Registered valuations for investment properties, when are they required? Always required for a private treaty. So where there's no agent involved and you're buying directly off a vendor. A residential investment property over $1 million, 1.5 million, which is quite a high price for an investment property, but as prices climb, maybe a regular thing. Also, that once again, that will depend on your personal situation. It might be that one person may need 1.5 million against that property and they will need a valuation and somebody else doesn't. So this again is a guide. Standard apartments, depending on the apartment size and things, also might require a valuation, as well as vacant land and a new build. I've put a little piece in about construction loans because a lot of people don't realise that the actual construction loans, if it's a new build and you've started that process yourself, we can still lend as an investment up to 80% on that particular property. And that is particularly important, that it's not a spec build, that you haven't actually, that it's completely finished and then you've gone along and trying to call it a construction loan. This is actually where either it's a turnkey contract, so that means a single fixed price contract with a construction company, and then settlement settles on completion of the build. A registered valuation will be required to confirm the value on completion when it's a turnkey contract, as well as it's subject, the drawdown of the loan or the lending against that particular property is subject to a code of compliance, CCC, and house insurance, of course. So building only contracts, this is where is quite common, and is where the owner is responsible for completing some finishing of the work themselves, such as landscaping, driveways, fencing, etc. And progressive payments are made for these loans, and RV's registered valuations are required to confirm its value off the plans and on completion. And 5% is held back until the code of compliance is issued, as well as insurance is issued. The only problem in Auckland, no land. So at Westpac, we've got some really awesome tools to help you determine what your requirements are. Our Property Investment Hub, if you do have a chance on the weekend or after work or during the day, have a look at our website. This hub it's really good for first home investors, also second and third property investors. I guess the key is research for a lot of us as property investors. The Property Investment Hub is a great source for your own personal needs. It has a range of really valuable resources and tools that you can use. And I've popped the website down there. Just simply go to Westpac website, click on the home loans, and then the Property Investment Hub will come up. In summary, my presentation is probably going to be a lot briefer because it's very specific as a banker what we can do and what we can't do. But as an experienced mobile manager, I've assisted a lot of my customers to buy investment properties over the years that I've been a mobile manager. And they have successfully built a large amount of wealth through property. And I'd be delighted to sit down with any of you to actually discuss your actual personal situation. I think there's some really key things for investors. Important for investors is to really have some knowledge and to have seeked professional advice, may it be through your tax consultant, accountant, property manager, lawyer, anybody you can talk to that knows about property, and bankers, of course. And also, I think it's really important, not because I'm a banker, but I'm a customer as well, is to actually have a relationship with a lender. So because when you are buying investment properties, I think there's a few things you need to be really prepared, because an investment property may pop up quite quickly and you need to act quickly in the market. So basically to have a relationship with your lender so that you're actually pre-approved and in a situation that if the right property comes along that you can be an unconditional buyer and ahead of a lot of other people. So basically, I know life is busy. So as a mobile manager, I'm available. I do a lot of my appointments after hours, lunch times in cafes, or actually I have done one in the middle of an empty section. So if anybody would love to actually catch up with me, I've got my cards over there, or if you'd like to have got any quick questions tonight, I'd be more than happy to help you. And also, if you would like to be contacted by myself in the future to discuss anything, and more than happy to give free second opinion on your personal situation. Lovely to meet you all, and feel free to come in and have a chat.